You know what's crazy? Sometimes life throws you these moments where everything changes in like 5 seconds flat. One minute you're living your best life, the next minute your whole world gets flipped upside down by someone with a camera phone. Anyway, make sure to hit that like button if you enjoy my stories, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. I'm Tiffany, I'm 33, and I work in pharmaceutical sales. My husband Kirk is 35 and does something with software development, computer stuff that honestly goes way over my head. We've been married for 7 years. No kids, both of us have demanding careers. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Things between us had gotten stale. Kirk's always been this intense, controlling type who needs to know where I am every second of the day. He texts me constantly during work hours, asking what I was doing, who I was with when I'd be home. It was suffocating. For the past few months, I've been having a lot of evening client meetings. That's just how pharmaceutical sales works. You wine and dine doctors, build relationships, close deals. Kirk never understood that part of my job. He'd get all huffy when I came home late, asking why I couldn't just do everything during normal business hours. Like, sorry, my career doesn't fit into your neat little 9 to 5 world. The thing is, not all of those meetings were exactly client meetings. I'd started seeing Wade, this guy from another pharmaceutical company. We met at a conference a few months back, and there was just this instant chemistry. Wade actually gets my world, understands the pressure, the competition, the long hours. He's ambitious, confident, knows how to treat a woman. Everything Kirk isn't, basically. I know how that sounds, but you have to understand, Kirk had become this paranoid, clingy version of himself. Always questioning me, always suspicious. It's like he was pushing me away with his constant need for control. When someone makes you feel trapped in your own marriage, what are you supposed to do? Just accept it. So yeah, I've been seeing Wade for about 3 months. Nothing serious, just dinner dates, conversations that actually stimulated my brain feeling appreciated for once. Kirk was so wrapped up in his work, in his need to monitor my every move, that he barely noticed I was pulling away. Or maybe he did notice and just didn't care enough to do anything about it. That Tuesday night, I texted Kirk the usual message. In a meeting now, can't talk. We'll be home late. Love you. Standard stuff. I'd sent variations of that message dozens of times over the past few months. Wade had picked this really nice upscale place downtown, the kind of restaurant Kirk never bothered taking me to anymore. We were having this amazing conversation about market strategies and future plans when Wade reached across the table and took my hand. It felt so natural, so right. For the first time in months, I felt like someone actually saw me as more than just a wife who was supposed to check in every 5 minutes. That's when the flash went off. I glanced at my phone when it lit up, still smiling from something Wade had said. Then I saw Kirk's message. Interesting meeting you're having. My stomach dropped straight to the floor. I grabbed my phone, stared at the screen, then my head whipped around the restaurant like some kind of maniac. And there he was. Kirk sitting at the actual bar, staring right at me with this look I'd never seen before. Not angry, not hurt, just cold, calculating. Like he was already 3 steps ahead of whatever came next. Wade was asking what was wrong, but I was already grabbing my purse, mumbling some excuse about a family emergency. I started walking toward Kirk, my mind racing through 1,000 different explanations, but he didn't wait. Just left cash on the bar and walked out like I didn't even exist. My phone started ringing before I even made it to the parking lot. Kirk calling over and over. I didn't answer. What was I supposed to say? I drove home in complete panic mode, trying to figure out how to spin this, how to make him understand that it wasn't what it looked like, except it was exactly what it looked like. When I got home, the garage wouldn't open. Kirk had changed the code. I had to use the front door like some kind of stranger in my own house. He was in the kitchen when I walked in, and that scary calm was still there. Baby, let me explain. I started, but he cut me off. Explain what your client meeting is not what it looked like. Really? Because it looked like you were on a date with another dude holding hands in public. I tried the colleague angle first. He's just someone I work with. We were discussing a potential deal. That's when Kirk pulled out his phone and showed me the photo. Clear as day, me and Wade holding hands across the table, my wedding ring visible. The evidence was right there, and suddenly all of my carefully planned explanations sounded pathetic. This is how you close pharmaceutical deals now. Interesting technique. I started crying then, partly from panic and partly from frustration. Why couldn't he just listen? Okay, fine. Yes, we've been seeing each other, but it's not serious. It's just, I don't know, excitement. I still love you. How long? What? How long have you been seeing him? I hesitated. 3 months sounded like forever when I said it out loud. 3 months. Kirk's face didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. 3 months of meetings, of me being the understanding husband, of you coming home late, smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. Kirk, please. Guest room now. I need to think. This is my house too. And you just admitted to screwing around on me for 3 months. Guest room or I call the locksmith right now. The way he said it so matter of fact scared me more than if he'd been screaming. This wasn't the Kirk I knew, the one who bent over backward to avoid conflict. This version was someone I'd never seen before. I went to the guest room crying the whole way. Kirk locked our bedroom door and I could hear him moving around in there for hours. I kept sending him texts about how sorry I was, how we could work through this, how it was just a mistake. He didn't respond to any of them. The next morning I tried to get into our bedroom around 7. Still locked. I knocked. We need to talk. Nope. You can't just lock me out of our bedroom. Watch me. I could hear him getting ready for work on the other side of the door. I ended it with him. Last night, it's over. Can we please try to fix this? The door opened then. Kirk looked at me like I was a stranger. It meant everything he said. Past tense. You chose some random sales guy over our marriage for 3 months. It didn't mean anything to me. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Then why'd you do it? I didn't have an answer for that. Not one that would make sense to him anyway. How do you explain that sometimes you just need to feel wanted, that sometimes your husband makes you feel more like a prisoner than a partner? Here's what's happening, Kirk continued. So you're staying in the guest room. We're getting divorced. I've already contacted 3 lawyers for consultations. You should probably do the same. You're not even going to try for us. There is no us anymore. You killed that. He went to work after that, leaving me sitting in our kitchen, staring at the breakfast I'd made that he didn't even touch. I called in sick and spent the day researching divorce lawyers and trying to figure out how this had all gone so wrong so fast. When Kirk came home that evening, I was cooking his favorite meal, lasagna, the kind I used to make for special occasions. I thought maybe if I could just get him to sit down and talk to me like a human being, we could work through this. I'm not hungry, he said when I put the plate in front of him. Please, 5 minutes. Against what was probably his better judgment, he sat down. I told him again that I'd ended things with Wade, that I'd blocked his number, blocked him on everything. Good for you. I want to fight for us for our marriage. There's nothing to fight for. 7 years and you're just done, just like that. Just like that. You've been sleeping with someone else for 3 months. You think I can just get over that? People work through affairs all the time. We could do counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I want you to sign divorce papers when they come. You haven't even filed yet. There's still time to... I'm filing Monday. That's when something inside me snapped. The tears stopped. If he wanted to throw away 7 years over one mistake, fine. But I wasn't going to make it easy for him. Fine, I said. You want to throw away 7 years, fine. But don't expect me to make this easy. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm getting a lawyer too, and I'm not just walking away with nothing. You cheated. And we live in a no-fault state. Cheating doesn't matter legally. I'm entitled to half of everything. I watched his face change as that reality hit him. All his cold control, all his moral superiority, none of it mattered in court. I'd done my research that afternoon. No-fault divorce meant exactly that. My affair was irrelevant when it came to dividing assets. We'll see what the court says, he said finally. The court will say I get half the house, half the savings, half your retirement. My lawyer's going to make sure of it. I walked away then, leaving him sitting there with his untouched lasagna. Let him think about that while he planned his righteous little divorce. Kirk filed the papers that Monday, just like he said he would. Our first hearing was 2 weeks later for temporary orders. I showed up with my lawyer, this aggressive guy who specialized in getting wives what they deserved in divorce proceedings. Kirk's lawyer was some woman who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. My lawyer immediately went on the offensive. Your Honor, my client has been effectively kicked out of the marital bedroom and is being financially controlled by her spouse. Kirk's lawyer countered with some nonsense about me needing space to process my betrayal, but the judge wasn't having it. Both parties would have equal access to all areas of the home until the divorce was finalized. If that was uncomfortable, one of us should find alternative housing. Perfect. I got full access to the house again, and Kirk looked like someone had punched him in the gut. Then came the financial stuff. Joint bank accounts were frozen pending final division, but everything stayed status quo until trial. When Kirk's lawyer tried to bring up my affair spending, the judge cut her off. This is a no-fault divorce. The affair is irrelevant to asset division unless you can prove significant dissipation of marital assets. My lawyer actually smirked. I love this guy. After the hearing, I approached Kirk in the parking lot. My lawyer was right behind me for support. Told you, I said. You're going to give me half of everything, whether you like it or not. We'll see. No, you'll see. That house you're so proud of, half mine. Your retirement account, half mine. The savings account you thought I didn't know about, half mine. His face went white. What account? Your account at that credit union, the one you opened after we got married with the balance of around 23,000. Yeah, I found the statements, marital property. My lawyer put his hand on my shoulder. My client is entitled to full financial discovery. We'll be subpoenaing all banking records, investment accounts, everything. Any attempt to hide assets will be looked at very unfavorably by the court. We left Kirk standing there looking like he'd been hit by a truck. His lawyer caught up to him, probably telling him the same thing mine had told me. In no-fault states, the cheater often comes out ahead because they're prepared for the consequences. That night, I exercised my right to the master bedroom. Kirk could take the guest room for a change. When he came home and found me there, he just grabbed his stuff and moved out without a word. I watched him from the bed with a satisfied smile. The next few weeks were actually pretty great. I had the house to myself most of the time. Kirk was staying late at work to avoid me, and I was back to seeing Wade. We had to be more discreet now, but honestly, the sneaking around was kind of exciting. Wade started coming over to the house sometimes after Kirk left for work. I'd make us coffee, we'd sit in the living room where Kirk and I used to watch TV together, and it felt like claiming back my space. This was my house too, and if Kirk wanted to be bitter about the divorce, that was his problem. One morning, Wade left his watch on the kitchen counter. I didn't clean it up, let Kirk see it, let him know that I wasn't sitting around feeling sorry for myself while he played the victim. Kirk called his lawyer about it, of course. Everything had to be documented, everything had to be evidence, but my lawyer said it was actually good for us. Showed that Kirk was the one making the divorce hostile, not me. I was just living my life. The trial was set for 3 months later. 3 months of Kirk and me living in the same house, barely speaking, both of us preparing for legal war. He documented everything. Every time Wade came over, every late night I came home, every coffee cup left on the counter. I documented his passive-aggressive behavior, his attempts to control my access to marital funds, his general hostility. By the time we got to court, we had enough evidence to bury each other. But in a no-fault state, none of it mattered. The judge was this older woman who looked bored with our whole drama. My lawyer presented our case first. I was entitled to half of all marital assets, period. The house, the savings, the retirement accounts, everything acquired during the marriage belonged to both of us equally. Kirk's lawyer tried to argue about my affair spending, about marital waste, about the watch on the counter, and Wade coming to the house. The judge listened politely and then explained that none of that substantially impacted asset division. The affair is noted, but doesn't change the equitable distribution of marital property. I tried not to smile, but inside I was celebrating. 7 years of marriage, and I was walking away with exactly what I deserved, half of everything. The house was sold proceeds, split 50-50 after the mortgage payoff. I got about $95,000 from that. Kirk's retirement account was split. I got $67,000 from his 401k. The savings accounts were divided equally, including his secret credit union account. There was some drama about personal property. Kirk wanted his grandmother's record collection, his guitar, some book collection he'd been building since college. I fought for half of it out of principle. Why should he get to keep all the sentimental stuff just because it was his? Originally, we'd been married 7 years. Everything was ours. In the end, I got the records and half the books. Kirk got his guitar and the rest. Fair is fair. The final numbers worked out to about $150,000 each in liquid assets, plus our respective cars. Not bad for someone who supposedly did everything wrong. Outside the courthouse, Wade was waiting for me. He put his arm around my shoulders as we walked to the car. Kirk was still inside, probably crying to his lawyer about how unfair it all was. Thanks for being reasonable about this. I told Kirk when we passed him in the parking lot. Reasonable, he said. You cheated and still got half of everything. That's how it works. Maybe next time you'll think twice before trying to control your wife. Wade opened the car door for me. As we drove away, I saw Kirk standing there alone, probably wondering how his perfect little plan for revenge had backfired so spectacularly. The thing is, I wasn't even mad anymore. Kirk had shown his true colors, controlling, vindictive, unable to forgive. Wade had been right from the beginning. Some people just grow apart, and when they do, you have to look out for yourself. I moved into a nice apartment downtown with my settlement money. Wade and I were taking things slow, seeing where it led. For the first time in years, I felt free. No more checking in every 5 minutes, no more justifying my career choices, no more walking on eggshells around someone who was determined to see me as the bad guy no matter what I did. But then things started getting weird with Wade. About 2 months after the divorce was finalized, he started making these little comments about my character, like how I'd been able to lie to Kirk for 3 months, how I'd fought so hard for money that wasn't really mine, how I'd brought him to the marital home during the separation. I mean, if you could do that to him, what's to stop you from doing it to me? He said one night over dinner. I tried to explain that Kirk and I had grown apart, that our marriage was already over in everything but name. But Wade kept pushing, kept making me feel like I had to defend every decision I'd made. Then I found out through mutual contacts that Kirk was doing really well. He'd lost weight, was working on some big project at his job, and had started seeing someone new. Someone younger, apparently, someone who wasn't a pharmaceutical sales rep, who didn't have demanding career obligations, who probably thought the sun rose and set on his boring software development stories. Wade mentioned it casually one evening like it was no big deal. Saw your ex-husband at that networking event downtown. He looked good, happy. His new girlfriend was with him. Good for him, I said, but something twisted in my stomach. Yeah, she seemed really sweet. They looked solid. I started asking more questions. Who was she? What did she do? How long had they been together? Wade's answers were vague, but I could tell he was comparing us. The way he talked about her, responsible, stable, drama-free, it was like a passive-aggressive critique of everything I wasn't. Our relationship started falling apart after that. Wade became distant, critical, always finding reasons why we couldn't take the next step. When I brought up moving in together, he said he needed more time to evaluate our compatibility. When I suggested meeting his family, he said it was too soon. The final blow came 6 months after my divorce was finalized. Wade and I were having dinner when he got a text. He smiled at his phone in a way that made my blood pressure spike. Who's that? I asked. Just a friend. But I could see the contact name. It was a woman's name I didn't recognize. When I pressed him about it, he got defensive, said I was being paranoid and controlling. Sound familiar? That's when he dropped the bomb. He'd been seeing someone else for a few weeks, someone he'd met through work, someone who didn't have baggage from a messy divorce. I thought we had something. I said, trying to keep my voice steady. We did, but I realized I need someone I can trust completely, someone who doesn't have a history of, well, you know. He left that night and never came back. Blocked my number, blocked me on social media, disappeared completely, just like I'd done to Kirk all those months ago. I spent the next few weeks trying to process what had happened. My settlement money was running low. Turns out $150,000 doesn't last as long as you think when you're paying downtown rent and trying to maintain a certain lifestyle. I'd been so focused on getting my fair share from Kirk that I hadn't really thought about what came after. The worst part was the isolation. Our mutual friends had mostly sided with Kirk once the truth came out. They saw me as the one who destroyed a good marriage, who lied and cheated and then profited from it. My work friends were polite but distant. Office affairs are messy, and nobody wants to get too close to the person who might blow up their own life next. I started seeing Kirk around town sometimes, always with her, the new girlfriend. They'd be at restaurants I used to go to with Wade, holding hands across the table, just like Wade and I used to do. The irony wasn't lost on me. The last time I saw them was at the grocery store. They were in the produce section laughing about something completely comfortable with each other. Kirk looked different, lighter, like someone had lifted a weight off his shoulders. They didn't see me, but I watched them for a few minutes from behind the cereal aisle. The way she looked at him like he was actually interesting. The way he looked at her like she was the most important person in the room. It was how Wade used to look at me before everything got complicated. I realized then that Kirk had won. Not in court, I'd beaten him there fair and square, but in life, he'd moved on, found someone who appreciated him, built something new. Meanwhile, I was standing alone in a grocery store watching my ex-husband live his best life with someone who would never do to him what I'd done. The settlement money ran out 8 months after the divorce. I had to move to a smaller apartment, trade down my car, start actually budgeting for the first time in years. Wade was engaged to his new girlfriend. I saw the announcement on social media before he blocked me there too. Kirk and his girlfriend moved in together. I heard through the grapevine that she was everything I wasn't. Loyal, supportive content with a quiet life. No career ambitions that required constant travel and evening meetings. No need for excitement outside the relationship. I tried dating other people, but it was hard. Every guy I met eventually asked about my divorce, and there's no good way to explain that you cheated on your husband for 3 months and then took him for half his assets in court. The ones who didn't run away immediately were usually the type who saw me as an easy target, someone with a track record of bad decisions. A year after the divorce, I was working longer hours just to make ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck despite my legal victory. Kirk was thriving. His girlfriend had moved into a house, probably the house I should have been living in if I'd made different choices. I still don't think I was entirely wrong. Kirk was controlling, demanding, impossible to please. But looking back now, maybe I could have handled things differently. Maybe I should have talked to him about how trapped I felt instead of finding someone else to make me feel free. But here's the thing, I'm not going to sit around feeling sorry for myself forever. I made my choices and I got exactly what I was entitled to legally. If Kirk couldn't handle being married to someone with actual ambition and needs, that's his problem. If Wade couldn't appreciate what we had together, that's his loss. I'm 34 now, starting over again, but that's fine. Some people are meant for quiet, simple lives with partners who never challenge them or push them to grow. That was never going to be me. I'd rather be alone than settle for someone who wants to keep me in a box. The truth is, I don't regret fighting for what was mine in the divorce. I don't regret refusing to let Kirk punish me financially for making a mistake. And I don't regret finding someone who actually appreciated me, even if it didn't work out in the end. Maybe Kirk and his perfect girlfriend will last forever. Maybe they'll have their quiet little life and never face any real challenges or temptations. Good for them. But when the excitement wears off and reality sets in, when she realizes what it's actually like to be married to someone who needs to control every aspect of your life, she'll understand why I had to look elsewhere for what I wasn't getting at home. I'm not the villain in this story, no matter how it looks from the outside. I'm just someone who refused to settle for less than I deserved. And if that makes me the bad guy, then so be it.